It is very important to perform a proper warm-up before any type of physical activity. The purpose of a warm-up is to prevent injury by increasing the body's core and muscle temperature. Warm muscles increase the rate of energy production, which increases reflexes and lowers the time it takes to contract a muscle. A good warm-up should also increase range of motion and mentally prepare you for exercise. A warm-up should begin with gentle exercise that will increase your body's core and muscle temperature and progress to dynamic stretches that will increase your end range of motion. Throughout a warm-up, your heart rate should also be increasingly elevating to prepare you for exercise. For example, start with walking for a few minutes and then progress to a jog. After a few minutes of jogging, your heart rate should be elevated and muscle temperature rising. When it comes to pre-workout stretching, stretching before a workout helps your body to become more pliable, which decreases your risk for injury. You want to stretch the main muscle groups that you plan on working during that exercise session. Here are some reasons why we should stretch our muscles. Reduce muscle tension and increase relaxation. Increase your range of motion. Avoid muscle strains. Avoid joint strains. Reduce the risk of back problems. Prepare your body for strenuous exercise. Improve circulation. And reduce muscular soreness. The training principle that has been applied to my exercise proper was specificity. Your training has to be specific to the goal you are setting out to achieve. For my training, I am aiming to increase my cardiovascular endurance and to increase the strength of my lower body parts. Progressive overload. This is all about the need to gradually increase the workload that you put your body through. An example of this is in weight training. You wouldn't stick to the same weight constantly, otherwise you won't make any gains. So you would safely increase the weight to gain strength throughout the weeks. At the second day of my training, I added a new workout to my routine. Progression is all about small increments. It is not a case of doing a 30-minute run one day and a 2-hour run a couple of days later. You should only progress gradually by around 5 to 10% at a time. In my case, on my second day of training, I added 10 seconds to my training workouts. Variation. Variation of training adds spice to your training. It keeps you motivated and keeps your exercise regime fresh. 9 times out of 10, the variation exercise can have a positive effect on your main sport. In my training, I applied variation by starting a slow speed and increasing the speed until the time is over. After exercise, your blood is heavy in your extremities and your heart rate is usually elevated. The purpose of the cool down is to return your heart rate close to resting. Stopping quickly without a cool down can result in lightheadedness, dizziness, and or fainting. A good example of a cool down is walking after running. Your cool down should range anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes.